Did I tell you he's crazy?
Hi, I'm Don Mooers, and welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. The proposed Montgomery County operating budget for fiscal year 18 is on the table and now before County Council consideration. Special Assistant to the County Executive, Chuck Short, has been paying attention to the nonprofits who served as a safety net to the needy throughout our community. Chuck Short's here to report. Most people believe they have certain rights when they board an airplane. But, as we have learned, that is not necessarily true. Let's talk about United. Mariana Cordier, local attorney, will tell us what we need to know before we board that plane. Stormwater runoff and its unfortunate results has done so much damage to the Chesapeake Bay. Kahlil Kettering from the Nature Conservancy will discuss the environmental issues, environmental problems, crisis that results from runoff, suggest ways that we can help the situation, one house, one business at a time. A small spider can kill you. Spiders also do lots of good. Henry Hailstock has become a spider aficionado. He's here to comment for us about this, as he does so many times on this show. Chuck Short, welcome.
Hi, Don. Good to be back.
Please give our county executive our regards, as his time is coming fast to an end.
Got a year, got a full year.
Another
Got a lot
year.
to do.
And one of the key issues that he has in front of him is the safety net. I think, and you've played a leading role on that and ensuring Montgomery County has a safety net, working with our nonprofit partners. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what is a safety net? Because that's on the news all the time, and what we're doing here.
Well, that's a good question. What is a safety net? And the unique responsibility the local government has is to care for people, their most basic needs. We can't push them on to another level of government like the feds can or the state government can. In the end, people who are hungry, who are without a place to live, who are sick, if they don't get help here in our community, they simply, literally could die.
The buck stops with Montgomery County.
It really starts with, well, not just with the county, but with our people and the county government. That's right.
Right. So, one of the things that I think is a key feature that we've seen, we certainly have focused many times on this show, is the, I don't know if it's unique within the country, but certainly it's different from many other places in the country, of this really tight partnership between the county government and our nonprofit community.
That's been very important to Montgomery County for years. It's a tradition of ours, and it goes back to a couple of principles, one of them being that the best way to care for the neediest among us is if we do it as a community as a whole, rather than assigning one element. Is it faith community's responsibility? Is it government's responsibility? Is it the Rotary Club's responsibility? No, it's all of our responsibility. So the government has all along felt strongly that when we are engaged in helping people, we want to do that by essentially helping those organizations who are out there on the street, reaching deep into the community, help those people.
So the net that you're talking about is making sure that the nonprofits are funded, or is it services that the county government is providing directly to the population?
Well, it's both. It's making sure that the basic needs of the poor, vulnerable in our county are being addressed, but nonprofit organizations, as good as they are and as much money as they raise, can't raise enough, particularly when there are major cuts at federal and state levels.
Yeah, I have to give kudos to the county government, because they have rallied a number of us together to help the less fortunate.
Who's us?
Us, I'm a part of several organizations,
Right.
but so that's why I say us. goes to all segments. You know, the hungry, feeding the hungry, clothing, even some of the. I'll give you an example. My fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, we felt the touch, so we adopted a homeless shelter for single women who had a need. They either were abused or they lost hope and were out on their own and everything else. The key is that when you have your leaders saying, we need help, we need to help these people, and if you can, do so. And you don't realize one thing, that even college students on campuses get hungry.
Okay.
And they go ahead.
And Henry, you really hit the point exactly perfectly. All of that, the more of those organizations like yours and others that come to the table to help, all of that makes us a better county, doesn't it?
You know,
Makes us a better place to
and it's
live.
making me think, you know, I think of the safety net as providing a floor that people can't go under, that net that they're not going to sort of disappear. But what you all are talking about is safety net. It's also a safety knit, isn't it?
That's right.
It's the knitting together of all of these disparate organizations with the county government funding here and it seems to me that you're trying to put all these organizations to work in those areas that they have a competitive advantage in engaging.
And the need is in the county. I know some folks can't believe that Montgomery County has poverty, it has hunger, and it does. And so it's great that we have this net to
Oh,
help.
I had a big argument with one of our leaders in Annapolis about that. He was trying to say, you know, different. Well,
Got a minute left.
this county is better, you know, needs it more so than Montgomery County. I started explaining to him, you know, what the needs were.
That's an issue, Baltimore versus
pocket.
Montgomery County.
Well,
Go, Chuck.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure to put this in scope. We have 50,000 children in our school system. We have 160,000. 50,000 of those kids are on free and reduced lunch.
Right.
They need to eat, and very importantly, they need to eat on weekends too, not just Monday through Friday on the
A
free lunch
third
program.
of our kids in public schools are on farms, are free and reduced meals.
And every weekend, they risk not being able to eat well.
So getting that backpack, bringing that home on the weekend on Friday
Exactly
as
right.
well.
And that one of our private agencies puts together.
Chuck, this is great. I'm hoping you'll come back again and tell us more, and good luck in getting the budget through the council.
Oh, thanks. They're a great council, and I'm sure it'll be fine.
And again, give our best to the county executive.
Thank you, Don.
Hello, Mariana Cordier.
I hope you're not flying anytime soon.
I'd like to sing Up, Up, and Away.
Well, actually, I'm flying Sunday, so I'm sweating it.
and I'm flying Saturday.
Oh, there you go.
Internationally, so but on a different airline than United.
I'm flying United Sunday.
Well, I'm flying Southwest. Southwest is coming after United, right?
Well, you know, I think they've taken advantage to the social media storm that's taken, you know, some of the.
So before we get down the road to it, as an attorney, you're representing individuals in all sorts of interesting areas in our county. Someone comes to you and gets bumped on a plane or gets broken teeth and broken nose like this guy, what would you do?
Well, you know, when
Tell
you buy a ticket, it's basically a contract, right? But when you buy the tickets, how many of you have read the back of them or the disclosures that come with it? Nobody.
Right.
So there's some assumptions that if I pay for a ticket, I've got a seat on that plane. But public safety issues could arise that would cause you not to be able to fly.
Understand
and
that.
that's
Sure.
understandable. But for crew members to be able to then result in them supposedly randomly bumping 4 people out, you know, and then they try to compensate them, or first they're volunteers.
Let's start at the beginning here. So we're talking about a United flight.
We're talking about a United flight out of Chicago, supposed to leave Chicago, and they needed 4 seats.
And
then
so
there's a
everybody's
book
on the
flight.
plane. Everyone's sitting on the plane. They're all ready to go. Plane is packed. And they come forward and say, 4 people we've chosen.
We need 4
by random,
volunteers,
right? Okay.
right? And when they did not get the 4 volunteers, they have an algorithm, they say, and choose 4 individuals, and they literally ask them to get up and get off the plane.
And 3 got off the plane.
And 3 got off the plane, and initially this person was going to until he found out that he could not arrive. They couldn't get him in a connecting flight so that he would arrive the next day, and he's a doctor and he had patients. The end result was that they forced him off the plane and he ended up with a concussion, a broken nose, and he lost the 2 front teeth.
Right.
That's an aggression to remove him that is it breach of contract? Is it breach of what? What are the rules and the regulations? And slowly but surely, what's coming at us, they can do that.
I would suspect that there's nothing on the back of the ticket that says they can give you a concussion or drag you off the plane.
That's what Southwestern was saying.
Yeah.
Hey, we won't beat you if you come fly with us.
But is this in every country? Is this something that's a standard?
Well, so the airlines, the U.S. airlines are pretty much run by the U.S. Laws and regulations. There are certain laws and regulations that apply internationally on flights. For instance, the U.S. carriers can fly from the U.S. directly to wherever they're going, and then they have to do the hops. Other countries they can't fly necessarily as direct. So they're international rules.
With an
and laws.
FAA, yeah.
Right, but not with regard to customer service. And there have been multiple complaints throughout the years by people flying. And what they don't realize is when you're traveling, whether you're boarding a boat or whether you're boarding a plane or a train, you are exposed to the control and direction of those that are in charge of those things.
Because we also
Yeah,
get,
but let's face it. It's customer service.
It's customer
right?
service versus
And-
power trips.
Yes, and you have to also understand that, although we're pretty much similar with airlines, with the regulations, each one really do it differently.
Yeah.
And
Real quick.
I know that basically one airline will keep upping the ante just to try to get the people off. And you have, I have dealt with a airline, they were asking people to come off and everything. And they have asked certain people, all right, where are you going? Okay, this is right. I have a connecting flight over here, even if it was a different airline.
Right.
So I know that it depends
There's a
on
lot
the
to
policies.
consider and to
1
take
minute left.
into consideration. Yeah.
I'm not sure, as horrible as this is, I'm not sure it will have much of a negative impact on United because
Well, United
the reason I say
so-
I say this only because when most people, myself at least, I'm not most people, but when most people I think go online, Orbitz or wherever you go on, to Expedia to get
You're looking for the cheapest flight.
You look for the cheapest flight.
But there is a problem for United, and that's that they're trying to establish and really grow their Asian lines. And because this gentleman is Vietnamese, the backlash, actually not so much in the U.S., but internationally,
Let's go to
and the call
Okay.
for boycott.
we got just a couple seconds here. What are you going to do if somebody comes in the line, comes to your office? This guy's gotten a couple of big attorneys. He's going to sue. Talk as a lawyer. We have about 30 seconds left. Give us your.
Well,
your estimate
what
what's
we
gonna
always
happen.
do is we investigate the facts and make sure we have all the information and whether or not there is a liability. And in this case, just on the surface, it looks like there's a lot of liability, not only by United, but by the officers who removed the gentleman in the manner in
But
which
you
they
had said
did.
earlier that we have no power. So where's the liability?
Well, I don't think anyone has the right to assault you, and that's a different. The question is, do I have a right to remain on the plane? That may be debatable. I have a contract. I purchased a ticket. I have the right to fly. But do I have the right to be also assaulted or not? That kind of raises the
Okay.
level.
Okay. So if they're nice and
So the claims where there wasn't an assault,
We got it done.
not as good.
Thank you. Nice final word. We'll be right back after this break. Thanks. And we're back. Kahlil, welcome. This is your first time on the show, I believe.
Yeah, thank you. Excited to be here.
You've already done great work on the first half, asking the question. So you've proven yourself.
I got my voice in there.
Here we go. The Nature Conservancy. We read about the Nature Conservancy. We hear great things about the Nature Conservancy. We get lots of mail from the Nature Conservancy, giving us the opportunity to help out. Tell us a little bit, real quick, before we get to the Chesapeake Bay and runoff. What is the Nature Conservancy?
Sure, and thanks for that glowing reference. You said it right. The Nature Conservancy, two things to remember. We are an environmental nonprofit. We're not an agency. And we're the Conservancy, not the conservatory. So there's no music coming out of us. But we are the world's largest environmental conservation organization. We work in all 50 states and 70 countries worldwide. Our mission is to protect the land and waters on which all lives depend. So we're working to protect wildlife, habitat, ecosystems, and people, because we are part of nature and part of those ecosystems.
You know, I read these great stories of how Nature Conservancy has been able to purchase X amount of land, and so setting that aside, that it was going to be endangered or it's been, spoiled, and we're going to let that land get back into its natural habitat. Is that key to a lot of what you're doing as an organization?
That's really been a lot of the DNA of what we've done for several years, and we continue to do that. We're also realizing that to really tackle these environmental issues that we have, we're going to have to expand and think about how do we work with partners? How do we address problems in urban areas and cities, like what I'm doing?
Which brings us to the Chesapeake Bay. The watershed for the Chesapeake Bay is immense. And all of us are part of that watershed. And as we were talking earlier, one of the great dangers continuing dangers to the Chesapeake Bay is our stormwater runoff. How does that work?
Yeah, stormwater. So to think about stormwater, when it rains, that water coming down hits your concrete, your roads, your sidewalks, your roofs.
So the roads you're talking about, so we've got the oil, we've got all of the things that have come off of the cars, so the water's coming down and just washing that away.
Exactly, and trash, pet waste in people's yards, fertilizer, pesticide, all gets washed into our local streams, our local rivers, the Potomac, the Anacostia, ends up in the Chesapeake Bay.
Rock Creek to go into the Potomac, then go down the Chesapeake Bay, the whole all that together.
And the impact on that is what? What is it, besides saying in general it's polluting the Chesapeake, what impact is that pollution having on the Chesapeake?
So stormwater is the second largest source of pollution in the Chesapeake Bay, but it's the fastest one that's growing. And not just in the Bay, but globally it's the fastest one that's growing. I mean, think about all the development that's happening. You have more strip malls going in, more concrete being put down. That means more stormwater, more concentrated stormwater with this pollution going into the waterway.
What do you think of the mansionization within Montgomery? You have the smaller roof and suddenly much larger roof. I mean, it brings itself up. You know, the more asphalt that's down,
So what do we
the
do?
less absorbing.
So what do we do, or what can we do to help your organization and our environment?
Yeah, I mean, everybody can do something. I mean, one of the biggest things we talk about is green infrastructure, which that can be kind of a wonky term, but as simple as rain gardens. Putting rain gardens, bayscaping, putting in a rain barrel at your property, being able to capture that runoff and let it soak into the ground naturally like it used to is a huge thing that people can do.
Yeah, I noticed one of my neighbors when I'm walking my dog, and by the way, picking up the waste, has this beautiful landscaped, I guess, reciprocal for water, and I see where there's a hole there. The excess runs off, but it's controlled runoff, and I was impressive with that too, really. And will things like that help? If we need to do more of that?
100%. I mean, to give you an idea to think about it, last January we had that big blizzard.
Yeah.
And remember that snow? It was great. We went out and frolicked in it. And then after 2 days, it was nasty. You didn't want it on your shoes, in your house. It was dirty. That's what stormwater is. So imagine all that melting.
Yeah, you explained it very well. It's common sense now that you explained to me that this stuff has to go someplace. Do the public schools teach this to kids? Are our next generation going to understand this? I mean, I'm one generation that didn't understand it well enough. Are they going to understand it?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to talk to young people these days. I get blown away by how much young people know about this. Good. I talk to them about stormwater, and then they're telling me what it is before I even define it to
wonderful.
them. So it's really heartening to hear that young people are so engaged and wanting to be part of the solution.
15 seconds left. Your project, you were talking about a project in the district that's a model, a pilot that you're working on.
Yeah, the DC has this really innovative stormwater market, and we're working with Prudential Insurance to help create new stormwater retention through rain gardens and generate credits that you can sell to developers in the district. Wow. So this way you're getting more retention throughout the whole city. You're capturing more of that rainwater, almost democratizing the stormwater retention and rain gardens throughout the city.
And incentivizing, letting the market run a little bit.
Exactly, bringing in private equity, and it takes the burden off of the residents to have to pay for all that because you're bringing in private equity.
Sort of a private-public partnership, a little bit like what Chuck was talking about, safety net. We do this with the environment, and good.
Exactly.
Good. I hope you'll come back sometime.
I hope I get invited back. Thank you.
Great. Well, we'll talk to that. Great job. Now, we're going from one environmental issue to another. I mean, the spiders. I saw a study that we have that there are 100% of the homes in America have a spider. At least one spider in them. But we're not talking about these
Henry's.
Henry Hailstock.
There you go.
Henry Hailstock, welcome back.
Thank you. It's nice being back. Always.
Deadly spiders in Australia having benefits for our health care.
Believe
this is
it or not,
fascinating.
It is. The venom from the Sydney funnel spider is beneficial in some respects to help patients that have strokes. And I was amazed at this when I started researching it, because just realizing that if this spider bites you, 15 minutes, you're dead. Okay, so how did this happen? And well, back there in Australia, they come from Australia, particularly
Right.
a 100-kilometer radius of Sydney.
Okay.
And the University of Queensland was, gathered some of them at the beach there and started extracting the venom. And they noticed in the DNA of the venom that this particular element, which looked like some of the similar elements that we have discovered would help protect the brain, was there, but it was different. And they found that really this element is more beneficial to those patients who have strokes.
Okay.
As
So
a matter
Henry,
of fact,
would it be like there's two different types of strokes? You know,
Yeah.
the clogged arteries
Yeah.
on your neck, and then the bursting vein
Yeah.
and bleeding throughout the brain. Does it help in both situations, or just
absolutely. They found that when they did tests on rats, that when they injected this 2 hours after a stroke, that 80% of the possibility of the
brain damage?
the
within it?
damage
Yeah.
would go away.
How soon is it going to come to the United States, do you think?
That I'm not sure of, because they're still doing the testing. Obviously, they're doing it on rats now, but it's I think I'm encouraged about it because they're really doing research, and I'm sure that the National Medical Association will probably step up, because we have too many individuals
Sure.
here. And you look at people who are vulnerable to strokes.
Sure.
People 55 and older
Yeah.
are susceptible. African Americans.
Yeah,
South
the stroke
Africans.
is a leading cause of
Yeah.
death, leading cause of disability. Sure.
So putting on my environmentalist hat, you mentioned Sydney, which is an urban area, and 100 kilometers, which is not big. Are these spiders at risk of being endangered or anything like that?
No, not really. As a matter of fact, that the collection, to me, it was just fairly simple and all. They had not talked about any endangered process because they've been floating around. As a matter of fact, they, I think it was Brisbane, 400 kilometers away at the beach. They gathered up some of the spiders. So they have sites all over, but they're more prevalent 100 meters around
100
Sydney.
miles,
Yeah. And it's amazing. It really seems that this is so potent that if you inject it 8 hours after a person had a stroke, it will 65% of the devastating effects will go away.
And it's interesting because you put
10
your
seconds left.
environmental hat on, but that's why we need to protect our rainforests
Yes.
and other
exactly.
environments and the insects and the animals, because they could be our future cure.
Well, they said that. They have said that in many reports, that we're losing, for every tree that's knocked down, we're losing the opportunities for future remedies of some of the diseases that we have that are devastating to the human.
It sounds like because there's so many spiders that it may not be as expensive as the current EpiPen.
Which was recalled.
Yeah, how about that? How about
Because I have one.
Yeah.
I want to we got about a minute left. The spider is important stuff. Can you go back in terms of the Ks and what you're doing in terms of the safety net and some of the work with some of those organizations? Because I think this is fantastic, and hopefully the spider venom is going to become a part of our stroke prevention. But I want to
A
hear
number
more.
of the organizations I belong to basically deal with feeding the homeless. As I say again, my fraternity adopted a homeless shelter, and we give gifts to the children and the youth. We feed them as well during the holidays. You'd be surprised on campuses, college campuses. You have students that go, wanting
I
for
remember
food.
starving.
So we've got just,
And government could neither afford to do that, nor could we bring the love
Right.
to that you
that's
do.
the last word. Many organizations can follow your footsteps, right?
Absolutely, I hope so.
You guys, listen, thank you for joining me today on this show. And thank
Thank
you,
you, Don.
all of you in the viewing audience for joining us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Don Mooers, inviting you to join us again next week at this very same time.